It's really got to be drilled. When we talk about a low single leg,
So we're going to look at some of Tazhudinov's defense and specifically his crotch lock position. He's really good in there. Does it with head outside and head inside. But one of the things he also is really good at is being patient on his defense. Like, guys get to his legs, and he is not one bit worried. Nice little foot stomp, single leg here. Pretty frowned upon, but pretty effective. So when guys got your leg up, pretty much need to be patient and have good balance. And Tazhudinov has both of those things. You kind of got to hope they make a mistake. And here he puts Tazhudinov back down in one of his best positions, which is in this crotch lock / crackdown. He ends up sliding his attacked leg out, sprawling, and going behind. So here's another good example of him being kind of patient on his defense. The guy gets to his leg, gets up to his feet, which is pretty high percentage as for finishing. Especially in freestyle, you can walk the guy out of bounds. Don't know why this guy doesn't decide to do that, but here you see him being patient, and then here comes the mistake. Guy's going to try and dive back to the mat. Tazhudinov hops out and then gets into this crotch lock, Churella position, some people call it. Crunches the guy up, gets his cradle, right? So here we see this guy make the mistake of diving back down to the mat, trying to take the quote-unquote easy finish, even though it gets him pinned. Just stay on your feet, take him out of bounds, buddy. So once he squares up, sprawl, and then this knee jamming in prevents this guy from being able to pop his head out, right? Because he's going to lean off to that far side, opposite of the leg that the guy has, but he's got to keep this knee in order for the guy's head not to pop out. Because if you're leaning away and the guy's head pops out, it's kind of what the offensive guy wants, right? But here, his head stays covered, and then we see arm around waist, and then other hand through, like right behind the hamstring, below the butt, and lock. All right, he's not a traditional crotch lift type lock position. He's like around the hamstring, and then again, he's going to crunch this guy up. So we see some pressure moving in, crunches the guy, and lifts his far side elbow. You can't see on that side, but we see this foot start to come off the mat, making this guy lean to his outside hip. Crunches him up, and I believe he steps over. I think this is the guy's foot right here. And I believe Tazhudinov has stepped over his foot to trap it. Again, crunch is a big part of this. So he's pressure in and pulling his lock the other direction. To get head close to knee, slides his hand right next to the collarbone, looks for his lock, and once he gets it, he is going to be able to turn the guy. See him sneak that hand in there. Only gives enough space for his hand to come through, but not enough for the guy's head to come out. Right? Takes him over his head and shoulder. And he does have his leg hooked. And pins him. Here we got a very similar thing, just from the opposite angle. He doesn't get the cradle on this one, but he's able to score because the guy kind of bails, or maybe he just misses his lock or whatever. But same type of crunch. This time the guy's head pops out and ends up going behind. All right, so something to note here for those of you that would like to do this. He does not just leave his feet stuck in the mat and let the guy shoot. He is still picking his feet up to sprawl when the guy shoots. All right. Guy's hands are locked. Here we can see this kind of tight waist arm and then how this arm's going around the hamstring below the butt, whereas a typical like crotch lift lock would come more over top of the back. Gets his hands locked, and he's going to try and put him on his opposite hip and crunch him towards him. All right, and then this hip lean is really nice. Keeps pressure on the guy's head. Keeps that weight down on that inside shoulder. Really hard to get lifted here. And then kind of replaces his foot in the mat to get some more drive in while he pulls this lock towards him. Again, puts him on his far hip and also tries to lift this leg up. And here we see where, like in that last clip, he kind of stepped over this guy's foot. We can see where that would have happened here. And he's got the guy super crunched. Maybe he gets a little bit high here, I think. Maybe his chest needs to be a little further back. So when he goes to lock, maybe he just loses a little bit of pressure and the guy's head comes out. Let's see. Yeah, the guy's head's a little deep here. This is kind of a weird spot. So when his head does come out, it kind of flies up. So he's not able to get his cradle lock, but he's already over the ankle and kind of gets a free score here. Guys bail this position because they don't want to get pinned. Typically free takedowns. Here we get to see similar defense from another angle. Actually, this top angle, which is kind of crazy. And it's actually something really important about this clip that I definitely want to make note of when it comes back around. All right, again, sprawls. Circles looking for his lock. Gets his lock. Again, he's keeping the guy's head covered with his leg on that far side. Now, as he starts to get lifted, so this is actually one of the kind of things you're going to have to spend time doing is learning how to not get lifted in here. So when he feels this guy start to lift, watch this free leg. Top angle. We're going to see his free leg straighten. And by making it straighten out this way, he's getting more weight out in front of the guy's head and arm. So it's going to make him fall back toward the mat. So one more time. As he gets lifted, leg kind of kicks out. The guy falls back toward the mat. And then keeps that crunch, puts him on his far hip. And we can see here, this guy's head is definitely covered. This knee is jammed in super far. We actually can probably see this guy's hands probably trying to push off his thigh to create some space to get out of there, but it's kind of too late, buddy. Really good crunch. This is free cradle position. Belly hand transitions right by the neck. Gets his cradle, drives him over to his hip, and then jumps him to his back. And then does get the fall. And this is in the World Championships, as we can see right here, 2023. Pins the guy with this cradle position in the 2023 World Championships. Pretty good. This is similar crotch lock position, but guy's head is going to be outside this time. So it starts like kind of crackdown-ish. Still looks for that crotch lock position. Takes him over his head, kind of like crotch lift. Looks for his cradle. Doesn't get it here. The guy bails. Gets his score. So Here we see him sit, anchoring on the hamstring, continuing to scoot around, drives the guy up and over so he can get this leg back. Here we see him get that crotch lock. Now this one's a little different. This is more traditional crotch lift position, because I would imagine that he is, instead of around the hamstring on this side, he's more straight over the back, like between the legs. In similar kind of crunch position, we're going to see some other angles, but watch this foot slide underneath, right? He's going to sit underneath, and that's how he's going to get the same kind of crunch he does when it's head inside. So slides underneath, lifts, guy comes up over his head. So yeah, this elbow is more down the middle as opposed to around the hamstring. Then once he lifts, he transitions toward the hamstring or knee to look for his cradle opportunity here. And he comes really close. He could also go like leg Turk to finish. But here instead, this guy's able to kind of straighten out, and he gets his free go behind and scores. Here we're going to see him go from single leg to high crotch defense. So he goes head inside to head outside right there. Does the same kind of sit pressure as before. This time it ends up just being a non-score, but we get to see, so where if the head does come out, what he's going to do. So here we see that same lock position where his hand's going around the thigh, looking for his kind of cradle pressure, but just gets a little bit loose with this leg over here. And Snyder rolls his head out to the outside. And then immediately, though, instead of sprawling, he jams his knee in and looks to put him to his far hip right away. So we see that crotch lift. Knee slides in, laces down, toe is pointed away from this guy. If your toe's hanging out this way, it gives him something to grab, gets you a little less flexible in this position as well. Again, putting pressure on his head, maybe looking to step over the foot. At this point, Snyder's now in the defending position because this guy is definitely attacking. Trying to get him on his far hip. Ends up being just a no score. Here we see single leg. Sprawl goes crotch lock. This time the guy goes to his inside hip, which is generally not where Tazhudinov wants, but he still has options. So single leg, same kind of knee jam, Churella position. Looks for this kind of crotch lock. I think he just gets, I don't know, I guess there's short time on the clock. Maybe he just jumps it a little bit and this guy's head rolls out, right? So as he goes for this, we see this leg stay straight. This guy's going to pop his head out. But as he does that, knee jams in. Gets his lock. Again, this one's not as much around the thigh as it is right down the middle. And then I think this guy thinks crotch lift is coming. Because we're going to see his inside hand release to like post right here. And sit this leg through to his inside hip. So instead of continuing to try and cradle, which is really hard with his inside hip position, we're just going to see him go into a normal sprawl. And then kind of arch and drag his feet around the guy's head. So we can see the pressure put on the guy's lock and grip when Tazhoudinov's hips fall this direction. All right, this hand will kind of open up. So right there, when his hips turn, this guy's hand is all the way open, and it's really hard to hold on to something like way outside your body like that. Hand pops off, and then he does this crazy just I'm just going to score this. Just picks him up. Basically just yeets him to his back.